Today was a wild day on our street. We had 300 Pokemon people running up and down the street. Wow, that's excitement in its own. And then we've got soccer all day. People cheering, screaming, yelling. So our street has literally been on fire all day long. And to think that we could come out and not pay attention to any of that and do art, I think that says something about all of us, and it says something about the Twisted Track Gallery. First of all, I want to thank a couple people that helped us out doing this. Cynthia Liu, she's right over there. Cynthia's one of the curators. Her brother Stephen Liu, Stephen's the gentleman that hangs all the art. And also, Lisa Hayden is part of the curating group that makes us all happy. I just want to say a couple words about, we got lucky enough, I want to say it's almost been a year, maybe that's correct, where we were lucky enough where Dimitri came and joined our team.
2 years. 2 years.
That's going way faster than I would like. But Dimitri joined the team, became a part of all this, and it just got all involved. He's been a giant help. And then slowly but surely he started talking about, I want to do my own show. And then we said, okay, well, wait a minute, let's see what, and it turns out, if you look around, Dimitri's not messing around. Dimitri was serious about being a part of this. So I'm going to turn it over to Lisa. And once again, thank you very much for coming out. I appreciate it.
I should use this one. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. I can't really follow Matt better than Matt. That was a great intro. And Dimitri, we love you. We just love you, and we're thrilled that you have this show, and we can't wait to hear you talk about it. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Hello, thank you for coming. Obviously, I have to thank a few people before I get started. Matt Haynes for all the unseen work that goes into keeping this place going, the restaurants, the coordination, all these people. So really, thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Anissa, Anissa is great. Her selection of artists and shows that often show a nice depth of humor and poetry that makes it fun to be a part of. And then Cynthia, I have to appreciate Cynthia for all the support and recognition and encouragement to take part in this, and also have to appreciate her and Barbetta's work in putting this stuff up, because all this stuff has been kind of piecemeal for me. I create it and put it in the garage, put it in this, and she's been phenomenal in basically creating a flow and putting up these images. So thank you. Thank you, Cynthia. And Stephen, really kudos as a underappreciated work every month in, month out, putting every show up, and his hands are never seen, and it shows great work, and to be able to display the work of artists without interference. So I have to say thank you to the team. And then Desario, I want you to guys appreciate the music that's being played now. The local band has been around for about, 20 years now, and just put out a double album set. Check them out on your favorite music app. They're very good. And I appreciate it. We met a couple of months ago because we liked, John said he commented on one of the music pieces I played and kind of hit it off, and I found that his music complements my work. And then I have to thank my family, without which, Lydia and I have been together for 36 years now, 35 years, 36, and her love and support and humor it's been a constant companion and really is supportive and all. And then my daughters, you may just be meeting them for the first time tonight, but their wisdom and support has just opened up all sorts of vistas of new worlds for me. So thank you. This is actually 38 years worth of work here. Pieces that I started 35 years ago, and ended up on our wall. In the room, they take 2 dimensions, but in my heart and in my reality, that's 4 dimensions. There's the 2-dimensional piece in front of us, and then the time I spent with each one. Every brushstroke evident and reminder of a period of time that I was with. So they are expansive period times for me, and each one has a story. And if you're interested, I'd be happy to tell you, but I won't do it now. I have a couple ideas I want to talk about first, but then questions are absolutely welcome. I painted and drawn when I came out of the chute. And the magic for me was just seeing a pen or a pencil or ink coming out of the on paper, and just it seemed magic to me. And the more I learned about it, the more I enjoyed it, and the liberty of just kind of exploring what would happen. So for me, the one of the most important ideas of being human is the idea of pareidolia, and it's a Latin word that means of the idea. And it's a capacity of humans to find patterns in meaning in random thoughts, random data. And so the simplest way to think about it is looking at clouds and seeing animals. But that dynamic is exemplary of what it means to be human, that we're constantly making patterns and looking at our world and reevaluating and interjecting. And so for me, that's what my approach to art is to throw something down and then play with it and make something come of it. And I found that over the couple months of time, that literally a couple months, these will be up on my canvas. I'm not working on it constantly, but I'll pass it, put a couple strokes in 2 minutes or 3-4 hours on a weekend at a time. And so they develop from nothing. And then the idea of pure and applied art. There's a polarity of creativity. There's the pure art, pure and applied art is relevant to sciences. And it's just the idea of exploring our reality around us because of the adventure, just finding out what happens next. And so that's kind of my approach too, is just to throw out something. Versus applied art, which is using the technique in order to achieve a goal. And I like to play on that polarity where it starts off as a complete abstraction and then creates a narrative at the end. And then lastly is the difference between subjective and objective. For me, art is about what's the word I use? Encasing subjective meaning with objective materials. All of these things are just cloth and color and stuff that I spent time with, but by the addition and the logic and the rationale, that created a narrative and hopefully creates a meaning. And so these are the ideas I wrestle with: is pareidolia, what's going to present itself, and do I need to force this into some subjective or objective meaning, or can I allow for it to play for itself? And then lastly, an important idea for all of us is to understand the idea of a Zen koan. Zen koan is that saying of what's the sound of one hand clapping, and if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound? And the idea is not really to come up with a solution, but to open up your perception in a way that allows anything to be present itself. It's not a solution, but it is the openness to having new ideas. So with that, all of these paintings have a story, and I'd be happy to field any kind of questions you have whatsoever, because for me, that's the fun part, is talking about the work. So.
That's you.
So this was, I took this picture on a photography trip Mare Island, and it's Mare Island. It's a decommissioned naval base in the San Francisco Bay. And so they have buildings that were dedicated to the war cause, and I don't know when it was decommissioned, but they have cranes and stuff. And this is actually a big wheel, and this is actually concave. It's not this is concave, not convex. And there's actually a tube that was carved out soft out of this huge, I don't know what that material is, but if you can see that this was a flat base on the side and of a wheel that was this large, and this is a focus of the hole in the center. So that goes back to the idea of questioning of what it is that we're actually seeing, because it is actually concave. There is a hole, but to our perception in this room now, it looks like maybe a planet in front of a sun or in front of another planet. Happy to.
Question: how do you, what are the through lines of your photography and your painting? Like, how do you compare and contrast the medium of your work?
So I was a freelance photographer for a lot of years, and that was very much applied arts. And so I have a lot of weddings and dances and dance exhibit. But my true love of photography is found objects. And in that, I allow the circumstances to present images to me. So it's similar in that rather than throwing paint on canvas, I'm allowing my world around me to show me new things. These are pretty straightforward, except for the twist. These are landscapes, but like this one is a photograph of water that I had poured onto a blue canvas. And the idea at the time was I had just painted this canvas blue and it was still a little bit wet and I was going to scrape some water in it. And so I put it on the floor of the bathroom and on the other side was a window. And when I poured the water straight onto the canvas, I saw the reflection from the windows. And so I took a photograph of that, put a vignette around it and printed it. So they're similar in that there's no filters, no manipulation. It is what it is. And in much the same way that what the paintings that here kind of revealed themselves to. Thank you.
When you just talking about the only photo that Richard Google sort of talked about earlier.
So pareidolia is, I've called it pareidolia to play on the word pareidolia that I explained earlier, but pair as in, I spelled it as in father, in French is père, and idolia. And the images of a face that was found. We were cleaning the house. We had tossed a whole bunch of towels in the bathtub. And as I was leaving the closet, came around the corner, that face was clear as day in the corner there. So I set up my camera, shot a picture of it, put a vignette on it and printed it. So again, it is a found subject, but it is to me, it's such a clear-cut masculine portrait that it is indicative or an example of that found experience. Yeah. So I had been experimenting with small mirrors included in my paintings, and I was gifted this large mirror. And so I put it on there and started adding the lines and it presented itself to me as self-portrait. Every painting or photograph or anything that is created ultimately is a self-portrait. These are all self-portraits of myself. They show some kind of emotion or view or vantage point. And the idea here was to create a dynamic that an audience would have by stepping up to the piece titled Self-Portrait, looking at themselves in the mirror and recognizing that we all create ourselves on a daily basis. That the portrait is yourself, and looking at your own portrait is something that we form regularly.
Can you talk a little bit about moonwalking on Sunday morning? Maybe where you were mentally or physically, because it's a contrast to me with all of your other paintings that are blue and purple, and this one's just so vibrant and green and yellow.
So the large pieces are my earliest work. I did those in the early 90s. And that piece it started off with the dancing figure on the right. And then as I pulled back, I envisioned him being in a comfortable place to be able to spin around and be enfolded in this ribbon that could be dangerous to a dancer. But the person is moving around in a very comfortable manner. So it kind of extended itself to a scene where somebody was comfortable enjoying their lives and in a safe place. So to me, and his position is kind of in a back or moonwalking kind of. So to me, it's a Sunday morning and just kind of relaxing and having a very casual day. And I intentionally warped the frame in order to suggest that lilting kind of Sunday morning experience.
That painting right there has a figure kind of falling
Yes.
off to the right as does that
Yeah.
And so I'm curious what that's about.
Those but were both painted when I was in a pretty tumultuous circumstances at the time. But there was a difficult period of time, but I felt I had friends and support with the family around me. So my experience was falling and trying to grab onto something, but the idea was to appreciate what I had around me. So the challenge was to find control in the falling waves, much like a surfer does with catching the wave and using the circumstances around me to find my balance. And in that, recognizing that being able to have that option to try to find my balance was a gift that a lot of people don't have any recourse into navigating very challenging circumstances. So, and from that, you kind of extend an appreciation for the world around us, and it really is infinite treasures if you can find that place. It's not something that we find every. So this was me capturing that sentiment of defying my circumstances. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about like process and mark making for you? Does it happen in one sitting? Does it happen in multiple sittings?
No.
It's always different.
Right.
And it seems important, even in the figurative way. It seems like process is important. Can you talk a little bit about what that physical act is like?
Sure. So for me, a blank sheet of paper, a blank canvas is an invitation. Let's discover what's in there, and it would always be it's always going to be a self-portrait, something subconscious, because I'm not painting something that I'm observing. I'm drawing out something from my own experience, and so that in that I try to let the circumstances and the time period that I'm dealing with dictate the way I act. So. Like water dragons or what better example? I guess like this, in that I allow the very first steps to be very haphazard, and that allows me to create a form or an idea to move forward on. It doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes I'll wrestle with a piece and throw the canvas against the wall or be frustrated because it's not gelling together. But in a weird way, because of this restricted nature of my art studio, I have to have that one canvas up, because it's in my house. I'll have one canvas up for a long time because I don't have the option of just switching it out and putting one up. And that has allowed me to look at a piece for a very long period of time. And in that, vistas and characters will pull up. And it's a wrestle for me to decide how much I want to accentuate, because the idea is to encourage the viewer to find something themselves. And so I try to put just enough to draw an audience in and have them kind of question what's going on in there. So the process for me is I throw down some color, material, or anything on a piece of canvas and let it kind of speak to me, and I wrestle it into a larger piece. And the music, I have to say, music is a big part of our family's life. Is that if it were my preference, I'd have some kind of music playing all the time, and my children and my wife have a lot of experience in music as well. So and obviously it's over extended periods of time, so different kinds of music will be integrated into each piece.
Sometimes the way that you describe approaching a piece reminds me of the way that somebody would talk about whittling. Like you have a piece of wood, and whatever you're looking to find is already in that piece of wood, and you're basically just trying to get it out. And so I've seen you work on pieces where, there are almost layers and layers that are never seen because of the amount of texture that you continue to add. Sometimes I wonder when do you feel the stopping point come? Like when does it feel finished? Not that they know that they're
No. Well, to be honest, there are lots of stops in every painting. I decide this is it. I'm not doing no more on this one. And then the canvas will still be up because I can't swap them out. So I'll just keep working on it. And ultimately it comes down to there's nothing else to be explained, nothing else to be drawn out. The image is there, and if anything that I will add will only diminish the narrative. John?
How did you decide on the orientation for this one? Because I see it's near and then this. So how did you decide which one you were going to, what was going to be the top?
So I struggled with that a lot myself, and painted it in a way that whoever buys it or whatever mood you're in, you can switch it. The wire is right in the center, and so you can just take the canvas off and flip it. And so it actually has a little bit of a story in that I was reading Moby Dick, and there's a chapter where they're lost or stuck in the doldrums. And doldrums means, forgive me if you don't know, but there's no wind and it's totally static and they can't move anywhere. And so they take advantage of that time to repair the things that need to be repaired. And one of the things that they're working on is mats. And the story on this chapter, it's only a 2 or 3 page story, but Ishmael's describing the experience of repairing these mats. And he talks about the weft and warp of fixing a mat, and that was a new term for me, and I kept that, it was ringing through my head for a long time. But weft and warp is the difference between the longitude and the latitude of threads that create a mat. And as he's doing this, he's talking about, wow, this is kind of like the ship going through the waters, and that the ship, and the weft and warp of the day are the days and nights that the ship goes through. And then he continues talking about how the bright blue expanse at night or during the daytime, and then at night it feels like there's a sphere around the ship because the lights from the stars are reflected on the ocean, and it's hard to tell where the horizon is. So this started off, so this is kind of a good example of how the things that I'm dealing with kind of insert themselves over an extended period of time. So I had just read that, and that picture of the globe around it was just magical to me, that I started with the horizontal line and then put the wave in there to suggest the ship's weft and warp through the days. And then so the one side is a little bit lighter than the other side to suggest day, and then the darker side to suggest night. And then I would point out at the bottom here, I glued a dark button to be the opposite of the mirror here. So the idea is that once you see that mirror, then the other silver and white spheres should kind of spark that. Thank you. A funny thing, and my wife will attest to this, is when I was working on it, this again was on an easel in the bedroom, and I had a chair or something in front of the easel, and a kitten of ours tried to jump into the painting. He was looking at it and jumped in a couple of times. But I think it's because it is such blues and blacks, and that's a color that cats' eyes are most sensitive to. So there's something about the vibration that made it appear like it was 3-dimensional. If I may, one last story. This one was a fun one. I painted it in '92. It was actually probably the first painting I made when I decided that this is something I have to do as part of my life. And wrestle with it. It's a bit obviously a bit immature compared to the other pieces, but I put it in here because it has such an important part of my life. That I painted it in '92, and in '95 got married, and our honeymoon, Lydia and I went to the Yucatan Peninsula, and while we were there, we were at a bar that was on the beach, and there was an artist that had set up a little table, and he was burnishing leathers with Mayan icons. There was their calendar and their goddess and gods. And one of the paintings that he had made, which him explaining, was titled Dios Descendante. And what it is it's a figure, a plumed figure, diving down from the sky with an orb in its hand. And it was the Mayan principle of bringing a soul into the human body. Electrifying, for me, experience to see this image compared to what was the Mayan historical artifact. So it said I was on the right track in my head. I was like, I'm doing something right. So thank you for coming. I hope you find something enjoyable here.